Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, the channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Often with the debate of the war on drugs or regime change, invading other countries to topple tyrannical governments, the same argument pops up over and over again. That it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You get rid of one leader, you create a power vacuum, and it's immediately filled, and the problem perpetuates. It continues, it's a vicious cycle. And that argument is absolutely correct, but it doesn't only apply to the world of criminals and tyrants. It also applies within the world of politics. Oh, well, actually, let me correct myself. There's no real difference, I guess, these days, especially not in New York City, between criminals and tyrants and New York politicians, I'll tell you that much. But when one falls off and his career comes to an end, the next one that replaces him isn't exactly better, and the problem is that it's systemic. Left-wing idiocy doesn't just exist in the mayor's office. It exists basically across the state, in most positions of power, if not all of them. And that's kind of the thesis of today's video in a way, because we're here to celebrate the end of an era, the end of the Bill de Blasio era, as ex-New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, after his failed House run, where he was only able to get a couple percentage points, probably even less than that, who knows? I forget the exact number, but one thing I know for sure was under 10%, probably closer to 1% than it was 10. Well, after his spectacularly disastrous political career, short-lived political career, Mayor Bill de Blasio has officially announced that he is done with electoral politics. And so it's a great day of celebration, I'm sure, for most people. But it's not exactly over because New York continues to be, well, New York. And we have to go in on some of the left-wing lunacy and craziness that we're currently seeing specifically in New York City. We've got some stuff to cover, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at this. Bill de Blasio drops out of House race, says he is done with electoral politics. Former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced Tuesday he's leaving electoral politics as he dropped out of the race for Congress. I've listened really carefully to people, and it's clear to me that when it comes to this congressional district, people are looking for another option, and I respect that. At least Bill de Blasio is progressing, he's moving forward. I think it's the first time I've seen actual progression, regardless of whether or not this guy labels himself as a progressive. Of course, the ironic part, but it's the first time I've seen him move forward. The first step to self-improvement is getting over your delusions, being real with yourself. But he continues on to say, I just want to say that I love the people of this city. I really want to keep serving, and I'm going to find a different way to serve, he added. Please no, just go away, I think is what most people are saying, or thinking rather. Bill de Blasio declared his candidacy for New York's 10th congressional district in late May, after the state's political scene was upended by a newly drawn map. The district spans from Lower Manhattan to Brooklyn, including de Blasio's neighborhood of Park Slope. The new district that they created, Bill de Blasio viewed as being beneficial to him because it's his neighborhood. And even in his own neighborhood, he got absolutely smoked. More than a dozen Democrats are running for the seat, including Representative Mondaire Jones, Councilwoman Carlina Rivera, Assemblywoman Yunli New, and former Trump impeachment prosecutor Dan Goldman. The primary is set to take place on August 23rd. De Blasio's announcement that he's no longer seeking the party's nomination comes after a poll from the Working Families Party found him near the bottom of the field with just 3% support from likely primary voters. Like I told you guys, it was definitely closer to 1% than it was 10. But he's finally leaving. He's finally gone. But the only problem is the garbage, woke, left politics that the Mayor Bill de Blasio era of New York represents is far from gone. Most recently, we saw Republican candidate Lee Zeldin attacked by a raging left-wing lunatic armed with a weapon. And this was during a public campaign event, and shortly after, Lee Zeldin predicted that his attacker would benefit from New York's laws, and it comes true within just hours. Representative Lee Zeldin, the Republican nominee for the New York gubernatorial race, predicted early Friday morning that his attacker would benefit from New York's criminal laws. Just hours after the attack, Zeldin's prediction came true. While Zeldin was speaking at a campaign event near Rochester, a man jumped on the stage and attempted to attack him. The attacker allegedly told Zeldin, "You're done." Fortunately, the man was subdued before he could harm Zeldin. The man was taken into custody by Monroe County Sheriff's Office. After the incident, Zeldin predicted that his attacker would quickly be released from jail. His words as he tried to attack me a few hours ago were, "You're done." But several attendees, including at Esposito for New York, quickly jumped into action and tackled the guy. Law enforcement was on the scene within minutes. Zeldin said the attacker will likely be instantly released under New York laws. The attacker, whom police identified as 43-year-old David G. Jakubonis, was arraigned in court and released on his own recognizance just hours after the attack, police confirmed. Thankfully enough, we have an update to the story. Suspect in Lee Zeldin attack arrested on federal charges after initial release. So there's a positive end to this story, but the point is, New York has gone insane. A politician, a Republican running for governor in the state of New York, was openly attacked with a weapon, and the crazed individual was immediately released back on the street. In what universe is that normal? And in what universe do we see situations like we saw with Jose Alba? Manhattan's DA's office finally dropped charges against Jose Alba. But in what universe is a man like that, an innocent man who was working late at night at a bodega, got viciously attacked by a thug, defended his life? In what universe, in what just society does this man get arrested and charged so heavily? Only in New York these days. Criminals get off scot-free. They're released back into the streets over and over again. Repeat offenders, violent offenders, felons. Crime is getting out of control. People don't feel safe anymore. You hear of the craziest, out-of-this-world violent crimes coming out of the state, and particularly in New York City, one after another on basically a weekly basis. And these woke DAs, these woke politicians, continue to prioritize these criminals over law-abiding citizens. The same thing I keep saying. It's out-of-this-world crazy. And even with Mayor Bill de Blasio officially retiring from the world of politics, and this new guy, Eric Adams, taking over, nothing really is changing. Eric Adams talks a big game. He took Jose Alba's side. When it really comes down to it, he's basically the same thing.
This is a real burden on New Yorkers as we're trying to do the right thing. We already, as I stated, we already have an overburdened shelter system. So now we're talking about, as you stated, food, clothing, school. This is going to impact our schools because we do not turn away individuals because they're undocumented. Translation services. There's just a whole host of things that this is going to produce, and that's why we need help in getting this done, and we need the right coordination to make it happen.
I mean, what a massive hypocrite this guy is. Of course, an ex-police chief and plays this big tough-on-crime act, but in reality, he's done nothing to change the absolutely broken legal system in the state of New York, or New York City rather, and now he's trying to talk a big game about illegal immigration. But this comes right after New York City Mayor Eric Adams allows non-citizen voting bill to become law, which was swiftly struck down by the New York Supreme Court. They are all the same. You know, if New York City Mayor Eric Adams actually meant what he was saying, maybe he would condemn the fact that New York City declared itself a sanctuary city. The same thing that we're waiting from Muriel Bowser, but no, of course not. They're a bunch of left-wing hypocrites who continue to prioritize people who break the law instead of people who abide by the law, people who pay their taxes, people who are good, upstanding citizens that make the world a better place, that make the world a great place. These leftoid politicians continue to stand right alongside the criminals, continue to enable them. And it's just out of this world bad policy. So with Mayor Bill de Blasio gone, there might be something to cheer for, but really it's a very short-lived victory because the state of New York, and especially the city of New York, is a complete left-wing disaster. Just like all the other big major Democrat strongholds, sanctuary cities, the Democrat Party, liberals in general, are the party of enabling bad behavior, of justifying and defending bad behavior, and of course irresponsible behavior, and defending and enabling criminals. Actually, here's a ridiculous example. Michigan City decriminalizes public urination and defecation to become more, quote, equitable. Well, I'm sure that's just gonna be lovely for all the tax-paying citizens who, by the way, pay high property taxes. I'm sure they're gonna love it. Move out of these Democrat cesspools, folks. These government officials, these elected officials don't care about you. Actually, it just comes to mind, here's another example from California. A San Francisco restaurant owner whose restaurant continues to get vandalized over and over again. He continues to clean it up and paint over it, but the city, instead of actually doing something about it, well, they're threatening him with fines if he doesn't continue to clean it up or continue to paint his building.
That's what I have to deal with every day. I repaint the building, come in next day, you get all this graffiti, and guess what? I get tagged by the city of San Francisco, tell me to clean this up right away, otherwise they're gonna give me a ticket, and I'm gonna repaint it, and guess what's gonna happen? I get a graffiti again next day, every single time.
Once again, Democrat politicians prioritizing the law-abiding tax-paying citizens and business owners. Yeah, right, what I meant to say is prioritizing the criminals who continue to make these cities uninhabitable and impossible to run a business. That's what I got for you guys though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.